Hello and welcome to the Brother Slim. This is Cam covering what I assume is going to be the last ITU update for the year. Yeah, so Aeon Trespass, update number 65. Every journey must come to an end, the threequel into 2025. Hey guys and gals, these end of the year updates have slowly become some kind of secular tradition at ITU. A reminder of the PM changes, a look back at the year past, and a look ahead to the next and beyond. I'm slightly afraid these yearly scribblings will become repetitive because of what I wrote last time is as much true as today as it was then, perhaps more so. Time flies, works make it fly faster. I am yet again working over Christmas break, an ignoble traditional I will have to put to a stop some years from now. Writing 12 Sins of Heracles and Skyward Odyssey and chiseling at its new ambitious journey structure, while also laying out the plan for Enormity's development throughout 2025. Last year, I yearned, all capitals, yearned for linear storytelling, and I finally get to do some of it. Alas, just as my stories grow more focused, my design sprawls, and it ends up being the same challenge, just from a different perspective. Ah, well. Indeed, hope Morris can get some holiday time in the future. On to the update. That is a really fun looking toaster. Christmas cookies interlude. Joy. Yum. That's how Titans are made. Fulfillment and support update. With Michael on holiday, I'll be filling you in today. Fulfillment has continued through the last week and is coming to a close, with the holiday period may stretch it out for a few unlucky among you, for which I'm sorry. What I can tell you is that Bridge is done with the bulk of their orders and is now in the process of dealing with customer support cases like missing items or packages sent to the wrong addresses. On the other side of the pond, Pac-Man has shipped the Canadian orders, the rest of the world orders, as well as into the UK orders last time we checked. Due to the holiday break, I can't confirm if all of them are sent by the 24th, but the majority was. As for ITU, our support specialists, Jacqueline and Leon, are working up until and including December 24th, thinning the backlog, with Jacqueline continuing with that work today. We should be up to date for the beginning of January. With that said, the backlog is substantial, exacerbated by the confluence of the holiday season, ATO fulfillment, and the enormity campaign, so I would urge you to have patience. We're working through as fast as we can. Rest assured, no email will go unanswered, and no case will go unresolved. Yep, their support's great. They've come a long ways from taking months to response, back a couple of months to a year or so and further back ago. And yeah, team's great, and totally fair, working through a lot of backlog right now. Okay, yearly adjustments followed this, or mentioned this in previous updates, so I think we'll just scroll on. Basically, if you are wanting more things that are from like the first wave of ATO or anything Kingdoms Forlorn, specifically Kingdoms Forlorn is getting a really big price update, so jump on that now if it's financially within your budgets, and you can. And onwards we go. Okay, so the journey so far, 2024 edition. It's funny, because 2024 was the biggest ITU year to date, and I barely realized it before I sat down to write this update. The popularity of ATO continued to grow, and with it, our company grew too. We regularly broke into GameFound's weekly and daily charts with both ATO and KF. We finished more projects than ever, and it flew by astonishingly fast. And here to being in those charts on GameFound. Awesome. Earlier this year, I finished my personal odyssey. I've written, edited, and formatted the last two ATO cycles, Gardens of Infinite Growth and Truthsayer. I should just copy and paste what I usually say about the scale of the project, the years of work that went into it, and frankly, the impossible task of putting it all together and making it work within a mechanical structure of campaign game not broken into chapters or scenarios. But I think you're all tired of me repeating myself. ATO is done. The Argo set sail in 2019, or depending on how you look at it, in 2017, with the founding of ITU. 2016, with the beginning of pre-production work, or 2013 as an inkling and a pain-addled mind. And now, in 2024, it's come to port. Cool that it was a thought back in 2013. Was that the first year of the Kingdom Death crowdfunding campaign too? I wonder if that was kind of like, oh my god, this is a possibility. That's really cool though, really cool. These new cycles are even bigger and grander than the first three, so it'll be some time before a higher percentage of you makes it through to the end. But the initial response is stellar, with the story, mechanics, and battles being rated as our best. I humbly agree, winky face. We didn't rest on our laurels, and the experience of making the ATO core game and your feedback led to the best and highest quality gameplay to date. As for the stories, these are the most complex and most satisfying to date, dealing with recurring ATO themes of fear and despair, as well as tackling new contemporary issues. This is a Titan from Sins of Heracles, and so the gist is your whereas characters you play as actually turn into Titans as well. So this is a Titan form of one of the player characters. I can't remember the name, but I recognize the face. He's coming. Finis coronat opus. Endings are notoriously hard to write, but I find that with a strong setup and themes, a clear through line and attention to detail, sowing seeds along the way, foreshadowing revelations and planning subversive twists, while also allowing for the story to move organically beyond the original stakes, the ending becomes the focal point. A lens through which you can look at what came before in a new light, just like in the best murder mysteries. And what are the best 5 cycles of ATO if not an intricately layered murder mystery, nipping at its own tail? What was it all about? Interesting. Nipping at its own tail. That's for you to find out. There are definite answers in there to the many long time mysteries and questions, and a definitive sense of closure. There is, of course, more stories to tell. I have a habit of asking new questions just as I answer the lingering ones, and the Aeon Trespass world is already much bigger than you've been allowed to see. There's work we've done in 2020 that won't see the light of day for a few more years, for example, and I'm not speaking about 12 Sins of Heracles, which are full steam ahead. We did it, yes, and so there's going to be a third ATO game, maybe at least, but Marcin did note that he wanted it to be a trilogy, I believe. Aeon Trespass Odyssey is done. Aeon Trespass 12 Sins of Heracles is on its way. Aeon Trespass as a whole is a thing. I will repeat what I said last year. Maybe it'll become my mantra. You made it happen. I may have written and designed it, but without you, ATO would not see the light of day. So again, and as always, thank you. I hope you will enjoy these final cycles as their own thing, as an ending to the Odyssey, and as a personal ending to your campaigns. I tried my hardest to make your choices throughout the past cycles be reflected back upon you. It's never too late to do the right thing, and all that. You think that 2024 was all about those ATO expansions, but it couldn't be further from the truth. We had 2 giant miniature resin sales, one in the summer and one just now, delivering our best and most detailed resin sculpts on an unprecedented production scale. These allowed me to push the AT world in exciting directions into regions we may not have visited otherwise, or may not visit for many years. Yeah. I think there's definitely some hints of things to come. I speculated from the first resin release that the area might be like one of the starting zones for the future third game before maybe jetting off into space. But that is just a thought. Okay. For me, the standouts are the realization of the unsung King Diomedes and the Blackbeak Pursuer, a little dream I had since before ATO launched. Blackbeak is my favorite of the 2 for sure. Diomedes is a really cool collector's piece though too. 2024 was also the year of the Aeon Trespass Odyssey narration. I cannot stress enough how big an undertaking this was. 116 hours of narration, not including outtakes, several voice actors, and a dedicated sound engineer, composer, and digital expert. Every scene, every choice, cut, edited, remastered, and cataloged, synced with a soundtrack and a sound effects track, and then meticulously put into an app that connects all these paragraphs into a coherent whole. This is no mere audiobook. Yeah, the narration is phenomenal. It's so good. With regular meetings to make sure we got the pronunciations right, pronunciations right is so clutch, because me and the boys when we play butcher almost everything. It's kind of fun in a way, but some of them are just really hard to say. The soundscape of each region and cycle rights, the voice of each pivotal character right. It's been a long and arduous process, one that exceeded our estimations by a wide margin, both in the amount of time needed to complete it as well as the budget. I can proudly say that everyone who is now listening to the ATO narration is enjoying it at cost, or rather, that we're still to recoup the investment even after so many of you decided to take the plunge. This is not to say that we're unhappy. The narration has exceeded my expectations. Neither is it to say that we're done doing game VO. No, I just want you all to truly appreciate it for what it is, a labor of love. As I write these words, 4 out of the 5 cycles should be available for download, with the last one, Cycle 3, dropping in the middle of January 2025. 2024 was also the year of Kingdoms Forlorn. With the largest ITU team to date, the production nevertheless faced many challenges, with the biggest one of them being the sheer scope of the project. Let me reiterate what I said elsewhere. With the amount of bosses in KF Core and the TTSF expansion, the first wave of fulfillment will deliver more battles than ATO and expansions combined, and in half the time. That's nuts. And I think that's a really good summary of just how crazy that is. And I feel like there's so many more mechanisms and gameplay things that are thrown into Kingdoms Forlorn than Aeon Trespass 2, but I could be wrong on that because we're not that deep in the game, but there seems like a lot more stuff that they're showcasing. Finally, throughout the year, I've been working on Sins of Heracles, as well as laying the groundwork for Enormity, which culminated in this year's crowdfunding campaign. And what a campaign it's been! On the inside, the best prepared one yet, best planned and outlined, with the leanest and most agile development pipeline projected, and on the outside, looking in, an astounding success for our new IP, with an even more niche subject matter than usual for us, and the lowest entry point yet. Not to mention the game itself, which I had such joy developing, even if it was after hours. With its modified ICP 3.0 system, it's the most friendly iteration of our mechanics yet, as well as our first foray into true dungeon crawling, in an open world no less. I think it'll be a milestone for ITU and one that opens many doors for us, which brings us to next year. No sneak peeks, just fulfillment. I think that's good. I'm always keen to see what's going on with ITU, and I love their sneak peeks. But I think that that's just a really good statement, especially just with some people being upset at when the Normandy campaign launched. Heck, I wouldn't have minded if it was a few months further out. But yeah, I think that's good to say that. Would love to see. I haven't gone through this update in its entirety, so hopefully there's like a little something that would be nice. But I do agree. I think no crowdfunding campaigns for next year and getting all this stuff worked on is a sound call. You read that right. I usually end these State of ITU updates with a splurge of sneak peeks, illustrations, and miniatures from unannounced projects. Stuff we iterated on in the background and so on, but not this time. 3 is the perfect number for 2025. 3, I think, is just the perfect number for Marcin. He really likes that number. This is on a Kingdom of Thrones update. Speculated that it either would be like a store release or potentially a feature boss, because it does really seem to have like the devil at the top, the richest, most important people, more rich people / knights, and then all the peasants at the bottom, and the devil dancing on top of them all. So this, my assumption, is either a really interesting boss fight or a collector piece with maybe some gameplay components that we might see in the store at some point in the future. Yeah, this doesn't count because we've seen it before. Kingdoms Forlorn is off to the factory. We should get its digital proof before the end of January. Get back to the factory with any notes by the 3rd week of February. Have an NPC in early March, possibly to be checked on site in China by a production team to cut down on the back and forth time. That would be really cool. And then rapidly go into full production on the paper contents. The miniatures are already being produced and have been for quite some time. And then into delivery, noting which logistics hubs to use and which to not. Winky face. There's a lot of feedback on which fulfillment partners we use this time. I'll say for Pac-Man in Canada, their packaging was great. Their communication was not. I had several questions about a possible KF reprint campaign already, to which I can honestly answer. I don't know when / if such a campaign will happen. At the moment, we're focused on delivering the current run, a fact I'm sure you appreciate, as well as developing the Wave 2 content for the Barony, Bountiful Harvest, and Red Kingdom. These are slated to come out a little less than a year after Wave 1, so beginning of 2026. Will the reprint happen before that, as it was with ATO and the expansion cycles, or will it happen afterwards? Has not yet been decided. We're in no rush. I think that is a good answer. Generally, and this is generally done for a reason. A lot of projects will announce their reprint campaigns once the original is delivering. Basically, it's a huge way to feed off the hype of excited people getting their project or getting their game, people sharing it online, and then a whole bunch of people that might have either missed out on the original getting all excited about a new opportunity to get in. So it's just kind of naturally riding that wave of hype. I think ITU's got a kind of peaks and slightly lower peaks in its niche audience. So just with how big their games are and what's on the way, I think not rushing into a reprint is likely best, because their games are huge and expensive and people need time to play them. Okay. Enormity and its team have a very aggressive timeline indeed. Over the last few years, we've slowly matured as a developer and devised various pipelines and processes to speed things along. Since Heracles is still being done the ATO way, see below, while KF was a pipeline transitory project. But Enormity can now benefit from it, and from the new way we do things. The idea is for the Enormity core game to arrive at our backer's doorstep next holiday. I fully understand the tightness of this timeline, and there is a myriad of things that can go awry in 2025 that will force us to make changes to it. If anything happens, you'll hear it from me first. However, we are trying to change the way we deliver games, because the long time between a KS campaign and fulfillment is as grueling to us as it is to you, and so we'll push ourselves hard to honor this timeline. Which brings me to Sins of Heracles. The game and its season's sequels, along with other standalone expansions from the ATO reprint campaign, like Skyward Odyssey, and the various new Titans and Nemesis, are further along than most of you realize. Over the years, I've really mastered my own peculiar development pipeline, and the actual Aeon Trespass production has become smooth sailing. The challenges do come often, as I'm rarely satisfied with just making more of the same, but these are challenges of the fun and satisfying variety. That's how the new Journey phase and Carcass Delve were born, not merely to offer a slightly different flavor of ATO's voyage and resource gathering, but to gift you something completely new, which sounds fun to me. Sins of Heracles is famously a sidequel to ATO. Battle-wise, it is very much a sequel. Every advancement, a sidequel being, I think, aspects of the game happened before before Odyssey, during Odyssey, and maybe after Odyssey too. So kind of like playing out at the same time. Every advancement we made and everything we've learned making ATO and KF have benefited Sins of Heracles development. This is indeed the next step for ICP. However, if you look at Sins of Heracles through the lens of storytelling and its travel mechanics and crafting and progress, it's very much a different game entirely. Prepare to be surprised and delighted. That sounds fun to me. There is one spanner in the works. I've mentioned Sins of Heracles as being made the ATO way. What this basically means is that I am its creative director, producer, main designer, and writer. And by writer, I mean both lead and rank and file. 100% of this is being written by me. It's this way because, unlike KF, for example, I feel a strong sense of sole author or even auteurship over it. Aeon Trespass is my life's work, from beginning to end. It's me to the very core. Even when I hired others to write some ATO adventures, I found myself heavily editing their work. Not because it was bad, but because it did not reflect my intentions for the stories, themes, and for the world of AT. It was not personal enough. How could it? And it often deviated from the established lore and setting, or from what I envisioned for both years to come. It was not me. Bottom line is, if you like ATO's narrative, you like my stories and my writing. I don't want Aeon Trespass to become just another diluted IP, and I think you appreciate that strong sense of authorship just as much as I do. Be it Tolkien on Lord of the Rings, Herbert on Dune, or George R.R. Martin on Game of Thrones, or Oda on One Piece, or Mira on Berserk, or, well, any other mangaka. It is that singular, unique voice that makes those works stand out and stand the test of time. I super agree. I freaking love Marston's writing. And just, like, solid comparisons there, too. I don't think he's comparing himself. It's just, like, really strong comparisons for well-known authors that have their own voice. So although I may, from time to time, reach out for some writing help, Aeon Trespass, Sins Heracles, and other Aeon Trespass material will be written solely by me. Which brings us back to that spanner. Having to also run the company, I can only write so much in a day, midnight oil burning notwithstanding. The mechanical parts of the entirety of Wave 2 may be ready for a fall 2025 launch, to say nothing of the minis, which are of course produced in advance, but I am not sure I can push through and write everything I want within the next 7 months. I refuse to rush the writing either, for reasons I think were made apparent in the last few paragraphs, which leaves me with a dilemma, one I'd very much like to hear your thoughts on. Namely, if push comes to shove, and I don't manage to finish all the writing in time, I'll know by April, would you rather have me delay the whole way or break it down into two and send out everything I've finalized next year? Neither is ideal, and I will do everything in my power to avoid having to make this choice, but as I look at the calendar and what I want to tell in Sins of Heracles, I have an obligation to you to mention it and ask this question. I'd rather do the latter, so the wait between the last and next Aeon Trespass game is minimal, but again, I'd like to hear from you, so please leave a comment. Which brings me to the last announcement of this update. I'm just going to ruminate on that for a sec. Would you rather have me delay the whole way or break it down into two and send out everything I've finalized next year? I think for me, and I've got bias because there's so much Aeon Trespass that I need to play through still, I would prefer it just being delayed and coming out in all one wave. I think maybe from a company standpoint, doing so would be mixed. Mixed because in one regard, they wouldn't have to pay for and manage two different fulfillment runs. But also negative in that they're not making profit on getting things out and building off that hype as soon. And that might push, yeah, I don't know. Interesting. I think I'd be keen on just pushing it back, the whole thing, but I would love to hear other people's thoughts too. Okay, so last announcement of this update. Wanderlust, Faded Wanderlast, and Faded Americana. These are not going anywhere. Winky face. Odyssey's End, a farewell. Though it's been gradually happening for the last 2 months, I'll make it official. I'm stepping away from direct communications with fans and backers. I will still write the AT development updates, and sometimes linger in the comments. I will show up here and there in our future crowdfunding campaigns, but by and large, I will be gone from the public spotlight. Still write the AT development updates, and sometimes linger in the comments. So just AT developmental updates. Interesting. Okay. This decision did not come easy to me, as I very much enjoy interacting with fans and discussing our games, but in the end, it is the right thing to do. Mostly comes down to available time. Time spent chatting to you might have been spent writing and designing the games you paid for us to create, which I'm always acutely aware of. Instead of sitting on a forum, I can be typing on the Apples of Discord storyline, preparing a brief Aeon Trespass. S. What could that stand for? Interesting. That might be a little tease at the eventual third game. You get my point. I would not be entirely honest if I said there wasn't another reason for this decision, one I mentioned with some reservations, because up until now this has been such an upbeat update. Although the vast majority of you have been nothing but wonderful and supportive, and I'm very thankful you've been with us for this ride, and I will work hard to deliver you the best games I can make during my fleeting time on this earth, some of you have been less than kind. Maybe this was inevitable, seeing the growing popularity of ATO, from angry and hateful messages to treating my private social media accounts as a secondary support channel, to threats, to disrespecting my wishes to not intentionally spoil Aeon Trespass for others. Responding to these, or trying to filter them, is not fun, and moreover, is counterproductive, so I choose not to. Wait, it's not all bad. Starting early next year, we'll be introducing new ways of interacting with us, and sharing your feedback. So, as our audience grows, and it grows enormously year on year, we can take this community to the next level. Honestly, that sucks. I love having Marcin in the comments, but I agree that that really does feel like the right call on a few different points. One, from like speaking with multiple creators of many different sizes, comments could be absolutely freaking brutal. And yeah, there's some bright points and there's a lot of really happy people, but speaking from somebody who's done customer support kind of work before, it's the crappy ones, the dark ones that really stick with you and linger. So that just alone for the mental health piece, super valid. And what he said about time and being able to put that time into work instead of communicating in different places makes sense. And then also just the mental health of it all. You're just getting browbeaten by so many people all the time. So I think that's really fair. It's a shame because I love the little teasers and hints that he leaves in the comments, and it's just fun interacting with him there. But for productivity and mental health, I think that's absolutely the right call. Sucks, but I think that's the right call. Okay, well, onwards here. So that's that. Another 3,000 plus words worth of updates, which I swore would not get any bigger. I hope you have a good year, and I hope the next one will be even better. I'm off to write some Sins of Heracles. Look to the stars, make a wish. This, I'm assuming, is something from Sins of Heracles, although it does look very Pursuer-like with the gear they're wearing. So maybe not. Interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, everybody, that is the ITU Holiday New Year's Cranksmiths update. So hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season and a absolutely beautiful, fun New Year's Eve, whatever that may be for you as well. So much love, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.